Manhwa, beloved by millions, hated in millions, and confusing millions. Manhwa has been gaining a lot of traction for quite some time now. And with the holy grail of manhwa, solo leveling getting its own anime adaptation, it's safe to say that manhwa won't spiral into irrelevance anytime soon. Therefore, I have compiled my personal top 10 list of the creme de la creme, where I can say with confidence that at least one of those will pique your genuine interest. The best part is that you don't have to wait a single week to finish any of them, because all of them are already completed. Remember when the God of High School anime was announced and everybody was like... And after watching it, it was like, at least it looks good. So, since the anime failed you, maybe the manhwa won't. God of High School revolves about martial artists competing with each other and trying to find out who is the strongest. Sprinkle in some tournaments here, some mythology there, and a little bit of secret organizations, and you basically got the whole plot. While you do have your classic main protagonists like Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura, there are so many, almost too many noteworthy side characters with their own unique motivations and fighting styles. My favorite one is King Dushik. He's a greedy loan shark who wins his fights by simply brawling. He could be the strongest character in the whole series, but he refuses to learn any techniques or martial arts because that's for pussies. This manhwa has over 500 chapters, so to keep it fresh, it will often resort to one-upping the previously established strong technique with an even stronger and flashier one. As a result, the fights later on bear more resemblance to a Dragon Ball episode rather than a traditional martial arts fight. But no matter how far you get into the story, through the end there will always be a major fight where time seemingly slows down and you only see two martial artists fighting with each other, capturing the essence of each martial arts form and showcasing the fluidity, precision and power of each fighter. Go does such a good job of spoon-feeding you one exciting and nerve-wracking fight after another that you won't even have the time or desire to question everything else. Lee is a simple man with one thing on his mind, the safety and happiness of his family. Even if it means working in a deadbeat job and enduring the yelling of your boss, who stole your rightful position through lying on nepotism, means nothing to him as long as he can support his family. However, his mundane yet peaceful life takes an unexpected turn when he is suddenly attacked by a giant bee. When Lee regains his senses, the world as he knows it has vanished. In HIVE, we follow Lee's journey as he tries to reunite with his family in a disturbing world overrun by giant insects and deranged individuals who pose a constant obstacle in his path. HIVE does such a remarkable job of constantly immersing you in one terrifying situation after another, compelling you without your consent to ask yourself, what would I do if I was there? What actions would I take if a giant wasp-like being was staring at me with its hollow and soulless gaze? How would I react if I saw the body of my brother in arms dancing eerily in the air, trying to lure me into the dark? What words could I possibly utter to a child offering the final meal in a desperate plea to save their already deceased parents? And all of this horror coming from a dude whose previous work was this. If developing entomophobia, please don't Google zoomed in faces of insects for your own sake, and experiencing the capability of human cruelty sounds appealing to you, then you should consider giving HIVE a try. Once upon a time, the supreme overlord known as the Heavenly Destroyer ruled the underworld of martial arts. He and his devoted followers unleashed fear and destruction upon the world, and no one could stop him. But for reasons still unknown, the Heavenly Destroyer suddenly vanished without a trace. So goes the story. But that's all a blatant lie. They betrayed me. My closest followers, who swore their lives to serve me, conspired and tried to assassinate me. So go, my pupil, to whom I taught every art of martial arts that I know. Fulfill my final wish and they are all dead. Wait, what? Yeah, they died many years ago before I was even born. Oh, I see. GOSU is one of those series that doesn't take itself too seriously. The atmosphere starts off very light-hearted, with a lot of comedy, until you realize that it's just a clever approach by the author not to overwhelm your readers and let their guard down for what is to come. At its core, GOSU is a tragic story about death, revenge and hatred. However, its biggest strength lies in the fights. On one hand, you have choreographed, high-paced, intense one-on-one fights where you can feel the pressure and danger of each individual attack, fully utilizing the format of digital manhwa without being disturbed by the limitation of physical pages. And on the other hand, you have one person fighting against hordes of enemies, showcasing the true gap between an average person and a truly gifted and devoted one. In between those fights, you will lose yourself in moral dilemmas with no easy answers, while appreciating the detail and love the author put in those moments. And if you want the ultimate experience, read Yongbai the Invincible first. While it's not necessary to read Yongbai to understand GOSU, since both series play in the same universe. However, it will enhance your overall enjoyment and shine a light on some important characters. Each of us are dealt with different cards in life. No matter how much we try, life simply does not go the way we want it. And Cho is no exception. Despite graduating 5 years ago, he hasn't secured a single job. He's constantly late on rent payments, and any money that comes his way, he instantly gambles it away on crypto coins. To make matters worse, the love of his life, with whom he spent 6 years with, broke up with him and married someone else just 3 months later. In response to this, Cho decided to preemptively skip to the game over screen. And this angered someone. This someone was Lady Death herself. As punishment for his foolish decision, he is forced to play her game in which he has to relive 13 different lives. All of them are in unknown danger. If he manages to avoid their demise, he is granted to live out the rest of the current body with all the advantages it might possess. And let me say it straight, it's an unhinged and cruel story with a thin layer between fiction and reality that will definitely hit many readers too close to home. Why do I get bullied? Why can't I be rich? Why can't I be good looking? Why can't I be famous? Why do I have to go through so much hardship while others have it easy without even trying? If you want to take a break from action-packed fights with superpowers and need a brief reminder of the kind of humans you share this world with, then Death's Game is something that deserves your attention. Everything in this world is finite, so to survive we have to adapt. The king of the jungle adapted by eating other animals. Giraffes develop long necks to nourish from tall trees. And mosquitoes survive by drinking blood? Wait, why blood? Isn't it strange? There are so many other ways to get nutrition, so why, of all things, would this small and fragile insect choose blood? When we finally realized what was really going on, it was already too late to stop them. 100 years has passed since the mosquitoes mutated and took over the world. The last bastion of mankind is the Human Resistance Army. The last 5,162 humans against 1.5 trillion mutated mosquitoes. This manhwa does not mess around. Shit goes down from 0 to 100 instantly. The creator of Mosquito Wars, Jihan Jong, is my favorite manhwa artist. He truly understands that this digital format, where you basically have unlimited room in the y-axis, is something you have to make use of if you want to evolve manhwa to the next level. There are so many fights with such unique and smooth transitions where you just can't help yourself but to say, damn! Did this really just happen in front of my eyes? Why did no one tell me that something like this exists? Combined with the dystopian setting where humans as weak as we are desperately struggling for our own survival against impossible odds, makes Mosquito Wars a really immersive and exciting manhwa to read. Sometimes in life, you get this urge to slow the pace down and dive into a long and memorable adventure. Magician plays in the fantasy world of Cantera, which can be best described as a D&D-like world with spells, different races and mythical beings, which, believe it or not, is not an isekai or supposed to portray an MMORPG. In Magician, we follow the story of three protagonists. Enzo, a goofy and cheerful kid who was forced to face reality by the cruel death of his father. He made a vow to himself that he would become a great sword fighter to avenge his murdered father. Irumi, a prodigy in the art of magic, always acting too cocky, but at the same time she's a very reliable companion who deeply cares about the well-being of her friends. And Ether Mask, an immortal and powerful magician who spent the last 300 years wandering and desperately searching for an ancient spell. Together, those three companions embark on a long and tedious adventure, experiencing hardship, grief and happiness, slowly growing physically and mentally, wandering through various different regions and encountering numerous friends and foes along the way. Jackal, a beast, a carrion eater that lurks around graves and has been despised since ancient times. The story is set in Cicero City during 19th century America, a rotten city infested with gangs, crime syndicates and a corrupt police force that turns a blind eye on its innocent citizens. And amid this chaos, there are individuals nicknamed Jackals, professional assassins with no allegiance, respected by few, feared and disgusted by most. And one of them is the protagonist Nikolai, who wields a weapon straight out of Monster Hunter, a giant sword with alligator-like teeth at the front, slicing through bodies with one swing like it's butter. You might rightfully wonder now, why am I showing you a manga in a manhwa top 10 list? Well, Jackals was undoubtedly made for the Japanese market. The art was done by a Korean artist, which makes it a hybrid and the perfect gateway between manga and manhwa. The manhwa element is noticeable in its readability. The art style is more straightforward and cleaner, making it feel less cluttered and therefore it's easier to follow the action along. The manga element, on the other hand, is evident on its portrayal of brutality. Bodies are getting obliterated left and right and drawn with such attention to detail that you can almost hear the doom music in the background. Jackals is very easy to get into and can be comfortably read in one sitting. Furthermore, it sparks an interesting discussion about the value of honor and principles among criminals. When someone brings up the topic whether Sword Art Online deserved its hype, you will always get a mixed response. However, there is one thing that everybody agrees on. Watching Kirito dive into virtual reality for the first time made all of us jealous, thinking, I wish I could play this right now. And this exact feeling is what you will constantly have while reading Hardcore Leveling Warrior. In this world, everybody can play the VR MMO Lucid Adventure simply by sleeping while using a mobile app. In Lucid Adventure, there is a ranking system to determine the most skillful players, and the one who reigns at the top is the protagonist known as the Hardcore Leveling Warrior. He has a horrible and cocky personality, always taunting and looking down on people who are weaker than him, which is everybody since he is the strongest. But then karma takes hold of him and he loses everything after being ambushed by a mysterious, caked up lady. So we follow along as he tries to get back to his former glory. There are quite few things that I didn't like about it. Power scaling often makes no sense, sometimes the plot derails into what feels like filler episodes, and plot armor is used more frequently than one might wish for. However, the thing that outweighs all of the above is the sheer amount of fun you're going to have while reading it. Every time new zones are unveiled, dangerous mobs are showcased, new weapon and armor sets are revealed, and unique skills and classes are introduced, you can't help but to imagine a reality where you can play this game right now. If you have any love for MMOs, you are going to have a really good time with Hardcore Leveling Warrior.
It's not safe here for you. Run.
Every once in a while, you stumble upon a work or series where you just know, after only reading a couple of chapters, that you're about to experience something truly special, and The Boxer is one of them. The story starts off with three protagonists. Ryo, an arrogant and confident bully who discovered early on in his life that he's a genius in everything he does. Jay, who is the opposite of Ryo, a good-natured yet weak person who wasn't blessed with any talents. And then there's you, who can be best described as an empty being who has abolished any emotions that make us humans human. Their fates collide through the world of boxing, which leads each of them to start their own journey of finding their true selves. At the beginning, you are led to believe that it's clear who will be the hero and who will be the villain. Yet the further you progress, this concept becomes increasingly blurry. No one is simply evil or good just for the sake of it. We are all simply products of our environments and the choices we made along the way. As a result, you will find it challenging to determine who you are actually supposed to be rooting for. Beyond the well-written characters, there is the incredible art style, which, in case you haven't noticed yet, was created by the same person who made Mosquito Wars. The way the artist captures the genuine danger of a skillful punch and the range of emotions the fighters experience while facing the uncertainty of their own survival truly makes it one of a kind. Anyway, that's all from me. My name is Akojd, the D is silent. Thanks for watching. Consider supporting me on Patreon.